Hi, welcome to Whole Soul Gardening. This is Ken, and today we're going to talk about container gardening. And what we're going to do, we're going over these next few videos. We're actually going to go through the entire process of starting a particular vegetable and going through the entire process of setting up the container, planting the vegetable, the watering process, and actually going through and just watching it grow. Now, obviously, with this particular project, we want to get something that's going to be really quick to grow. One of the quickest vegetables to grow is radishes. I know it's not a very exciting vegetable, but it is one of the quickest ones. Usually you can grow radishes and they'll mature within about a month, usually within about 22 to 25 days. So that's why I chose radishes for this particular project, because it's something that we should start seeing progress with on a fairly quick basis. So with that said, let us go ahead and just start getting right into this so that you can start your container gardening process and start enjoying those fresh veggies all year long. Alright? Great. Alright, well, we're just going to head down and grab everything we need and we'll get started. Okay, here we go. Finally got some things set up here. So we're going to go over a project here. I want to show you a couple things real quick though. I do have some cucumber already growing in a bucket. I want you to see here. I already have, you see, got some little vines growing up here, and got a couple of little flowers starting. So this one should actually start producing some cucumbers here shortly. What I'm going to end up doing here though is, as you can see these little vines growing, I'm going to put up a small little cage here so that these vines will grow up rather than grow down, so that the cucumbers and stuff will have something to climb on, and that way it'll give it a little bit more space. And I'll go into more detail probably tomorrow, or excuse me, in the next videos, explaining how I go about with the pollination process with this, because it is a lot easier than you're going to think. I also have, as you've seen in the other videos, a tomato plant right beside me, and as you can see, I've already got some. This is a Roma tomato plant, and as you can see, I've already got some tomatoes already coming in. So it is quite possible to grow fruiting vegetables in larger containers inside your home. So just wanted to share that with you real quick, and that's something that we will be going over. So what we have here is, we have two containers which I was going to choose from. This is that regular nursery container I was telling you about earlier, and as you can see, it's already got holes in the bottom of it, so I wouldn't have to add any more drainage holes into this if I were to use this particular container. Now, I happen to like radishes, but I really don't need anything this deep, because radishes really, they don't need a lot of room. So in this case, since I'm only going to use the container one time, I'm going to use this Folgers can, or Folgers plastic bucket, and I hope the sun's really not going to harm the process too much. So as you can see, I've kind of rinsed this out, and I'm going to put some holes in here because we do need to have some drainage holes, because we don't want to, even though I'm not going to overwater this, I do want to have some holes in here to allow the water to drain out in the event that I would overwater it by accident. So let me go ahead and get that process done. Now you could put the drainage holes in there any number of ways. You could do it with a hammer and nail if you don't have a drill or anything like I do here. I just happen to be very fortunate. Now most people would put the holes here on the bottom. And as you can see, there's a little bit of an indentation here on this particular container. So if I were to put holes in the bottom, I would probably put them here in the indentation, because when you set the container down, if you had your holes here, well, your holes would be on your surface and you'd kind of block off your drainage. What I like to do is I like to put my holes along the side, because that way there's no chance of my drainage holes being blocked by whatever my container happens to be sitting on. And especially if I put a dish or some type of object underneath of my container to catch water. So I'm going to go ahead and drill a couple of holes in here, or a few holes. I don't like to drill a lot of holes, only because I'm lazy again, and I don't like cleanup and getting dirt all over the place. And evidently I have a dull drill bit. So give me 1 second here. Let me go ahead and just... Well, that's a little bit easier. There we go. So, as you can see, I have a few holes in there. I don't have many, and I mean, there's no exact science to this about how many holes you actually need to put in here, but just put a few holes in there just to give yourself some drainage, you know. So there you go. So now I've got my holes in here. So now we're going to use, now that we got holes in here, now we need to put our soil in here. So what type of soil are you going to use? Well, what I usually do is I'll initially put a potting soil in here. Now, I know you'll read in there about putting perlite and, you know, this whole mix and everything else, which is all good, and yeah, you can do that, but again, we're looking at time saving here. So for time saving, I'll just go out and get me a bag of potting soil. Now I do make my own soil with worm vermicompost, and I'll get into that a little bit later on. But for this video, we're just going to talk about just regular potting soil. Yeah, do you have to get the most expensive kind? No, but you do want to get yourself a decent potting soil. I've been using super soil now because it's inexpensive. Yeah, usually it'll run on sale, especially early on in the growing season at most hardware stores, and because I'm using smaller containers a lot, it usually lasts. Plus I mix it in with my vermicompost. So we're going to go ahead and fill this container up with my potting soil, and hopefully not just getting it all over the place, because I don't want to sweep up too much. Now you could do this outside or whatever, but I have a lot of small dogs at the neighbors, and I just really didn't want to have to talk over top of them. So by the way, don't send me comments telling me about my floor and my toolbox sitting over there. I know I just got a few projects going on right now, and on top of the videos, so Yep, there I go, making a mess. That's okay. I guess that's one of the good things about me not having a real job, is the fact I've got time to actually clean this stuff up. So, you on the other hand might want to do this outside. If you're busy, you have real jobs and a life. Me, I don't have a life. I'm just kidding. I got a wonderful life. Are you kidding me? Living out here in Siskiyou County? Oh my gosh. Anyway, okay, when you're filling up your container, I want you to keep in mind two things. Number one, you are going to be adding water to this. So even though you're filling it up, you've got to realize that when you add water, it's going to go down about another inch or two. I don't pack it because I like my soil to be loose. So what I will do is I will fill it up to the top as much as possible without kind of overfilling it. And I do this even for my leafy vegetables. Now with my leafy vegetables, like my lettuces, my spinaches, my herbs and things like that, once I plant the seeds in here, I will water it a couple of days, and I will add another scoop or two of dirt because I want my dirt to be up here. The reason for that is because once your sprouts start coming up, they're going to reach for the sun. And if your dirt's way down here, what you're going to have is you're going to have these long sprouts before you ever get any leaves. You don't want that. What you want is how you would see it in a regular garden. You want, when the sprout comes up, you want to see leaves coming up. So try to always have your soil up here to the top. Wait, I got a little stick in there. Oh, it's not a little stick. Okay. Now, let's talk about seeds for a second. I was mentioned in our very first video about gardening, when you're looking at seeds, look for something that will tell you, especially when you start talking about fruiting vegetables, that will tell you that it's good for containers. Now on mine, as you can see here, I've got that little container sign with a check mark. It says, hey, you know, you can put this in a container. Now these happen to be seeds from burpees, and this here happens to be radish seeds, and these are cherry giants. And on the back, if you're not sure how to plant them, on the back of your seed packets will be little directions about how to plant them and things like this. And 9 times out of 10, these are really just general directions, because what you're going to find is that you don't have to follow them like you would in a garden, because you're not going to be thinning crops like you would in a garden. So with radishes, you want to plant them about a ½ inch apart. So, and I'll show you I'll give you a little top view here in a minute. You want to plant them about a ½ inch apart with radishes. You don't want to plant these seeds too deep in containers, because you want to get some quick sprouting. So what I usually do is I'll poke a few small holes, and I'll kind of do them like in the outside circle first, and then I might put one in the middle. And with radishes, you only need 1 seed per hole. Hi Ebby, thank you for coming into the video, girl. Ebby is my helper, and she likes to play in the dirt afterwards, so she likes helping out. That's my good girl. Hold on. Ebby, say hi. Hi. Okay, yeah, female dog, and she has a male voice. She's gonna get up on the couch now. Go ahead, Abby. Get up on the couch, baby girl. Go on. Get up on the couch. You know you want to. There you go. Get out of the tomatoes. There you go. That's my good girl. You just wanted the sun. That's all it was. Alright. Okay, so here we go. There you go. See the seeds? See them right there? Alright. Now, all I got to do now is just cover them up. I'm just going to cover them up. Yeah. and I'm going to pat it down just a little bit. I'm not packing it, just patting it down. Okay. Now, once I've got it packed down a little bit, I'm just going to take and I'm going to water it. I'm not going to get a special can. I'm not going to get a whole bunch of sprayers. I'm going to use a glass of water. What? A glass of water? Oh yes, a glass of water. So we're just going to add a little bit of water in here, and we're going to spill some on the floor because, well, I can. Okay, so, and we're just going to see, we're not going to overload this. So, as far as getting started, we've gotten started. So now with this container, you just want to set it in an area where you're going to get about 6 hours of sunlight a day. And if you only got a spot where you can only get 4 hours of sunlight, that's fine too. So there you have it. That's how we're going to get started. So find out what you'd like to plant, and if you have any questions at this point, leave a comment below or send me an email, and be sure to subscribe to this channel and share it with your friends, and we'll see you in the next video. Namaste.